What's up YouTube? My name is Tyler and I am a minimalist. I recently moved to Austin, Texas with essentially nothing. And as I slowly but deliberately accumulate things and rebuild my life here, I'm getting deeply in touch with the few things that truly bring me value, truly bring me joy from day to day. And so I wanted to share the top 5 things that bring me the most joy and value as a minimalist. Oh, and stick around until the end because the last one is kind of surprising. Item number 1 is the Chemex. Guys, hear me out. I am a huge coffee lover. My experiences with coffee bring me a ton of joy every single day, on weekdays, on weekends. I love it. I don't only love the way it makes me feel, which is focused and euphoric, but I love the process of brewing a really delicious cup of coffee. And for years, I swore by the French press. I do love the French press, but when I moved to Austin, I felt kind of inspired to try something new and to get a bit deeper into the coffee world. And I had heard a lot about the Chemex, right? This kind of beautiful, simple design that was created in 1941, and it's the simple pour-over brewing method. And for whatever reason, I always kept it at arm's length. For some reason, I thought maybe it was too sophisticated or complex or required too much attention. I really wish I would have tried the Chemex sooner. It brews a delicious cup of coffee. It results in a cleaner, less chalky and bitter cup of coffee. And that bonded paper filter, it just leads to a more delicate cup that seems to accentuate some of the more subtle flavors of the coffee. And the Chemex gives me a gift beyond just a stellar cup of coffee. It provides me an opportunity every single morning to focus all of my attention on one simple task and to give that all of my presence, all of my focus. And I use those 4 to 5 minutes every morning and throughout the day as an opportunity to be present, right? To focus on my breathing, to acknowledge the beauty of being able to brew a cup of coffee, to be in a place of gratitude for the fact that, a farmer farmed these beans and the fact that there's a logistics system where the beans somehow were transported across the planet and ended up in my apartment. So I use the exercise and the practice of brewing through the Chemex as a way to get grounded in gratitude and in presence. I feel like the Chemex is the coffee making epitome of minimalism. It's beautiful, it's simple, there's no wasted space, no wasted materials. Everything about it has utility and function. It's easier to clean than a French press, and it just looks really cool and beautiful sitting on your counter. So if you're a coffee fan, maybe you're looking to explore a little bit, I would highly recommend spend $35-40 and try out a Chemex. The second thing that brings me a ton of value, a ton of joy, is a mechanical watch. Now, this particular item may not resonate with all of you. I know that the time is incessantly available on our cell phone, which is always with us. And so wearing a watch can sometimes feel redundant or unnecessary or uncomfortable to many people. But my watches bring me so much joy. It goes beyond utility and it goes all the way into joy and enthusiasm. To me, watches are this amazing cocktail of engineering, fashion, design, history, right? And as you deepen your understanding of horology, your appreciation for the wristwatch really gets amplified. As a minimalist, I think in part the reason I'm so drawn to watches is that they carry all these really interesting and compelling characteristics in a really small package. Wristwatches are not like a piece of artwork that may be beautiful, but you have to hang it on your wall. You have to admire it from afar, and you can't take it with you to have a human experience with it. They're also different than something like a car, which may be an amazing feat of engineering or even beauty, but you have to park it somewhere and you can only spend a little bit of time in it. Your watch hardly takes up any space at all. It's something that I can wear with me essentially at all times. It lives through my human experience with me from moment to moment. And within the case of a mechanical watch is a tiny universe of its own, made of gears and springs, all delicately put together without a single waste of space. Similar to how a minimalist may arrange their living space, a mechanical wristwatch leverages all of its real estate. It doesn't waste any space. Everything has utility, everything has function, and if they get it right, it has beauty. I could talk about watches all day. I'm not gonna bore you unless you want me to. If you want to learn a little bit more about my watch collection, this is my Black Bay 58 Blue, which I love dearly. Leave a comment down below and maybe I'll make a video about some of my watches. The next item that brings a ton of value and joy to my life every single day is Merino Wool. In April 2019, I quit my job to travel Southeast Asia for a year. And I really wanted to do that with just a carry-on size backpack. I wanted to travel really light. And in doing that research of how to make my pack as lightweight and as functional as possible, I stumbled upon a fabric called Merino Wool. Merino wool is a natural fiber grown by merino sheep. It's thinner and it's softer than regular wool, making it easier to wear. Once I started to integrate merino wool into my wardrobe, I frankly couldn't go back. It has all these amazing properties and characteristics. It's odor resistant, it helps regulate body temperature, it wicks away your sweat. You can re-wear merino wool shirts multiple times without them smelling bad or looking disheveled. It truly is like a miracle fabric. Owning merino wool based clothing allows me to keep my wardrobe simple, concise. I can re-wear shirts multiple times throughout my week, particularly because I work remote. So even if I did smell, which I don't smell, if I did smell, no one would know. Wearing merino wool has a ton of utility, but it also brings me joy, oddly enough. There's just something satisfying about wearing a high quality fabric throughout your day. It compels me to actually take better care of my clothes, to be more thoughtful about how and when I wash them, and to make sure that the pieces of clothes that I do own last for a long time. My two favorite brands are Outlier and Wool and Prince. Outlier, I love their tees, their ultra fine merino tees. Wool and Prince, I love their button downs and their Henleys as well. Now be warned, these shirts are expensive. Probably more expensive than you thought they would be. So when you go to Outlier, when you go to Wool and Prince, you might have a little bit of sticker shock, and that's okay. But I will tell you, if you're serious about minimizing your wardrobe, or if you travel a lot, I'm telling you, it's worth the investment. Check it out. The next item that brings a ton of value to my life is the object you're actually looking at me through. Now, I am not a camera expert. I'm not a photographer. I'm only at the beginning of my YouTube journey, so I'm not gonna nerd out to you about the specs of this camera. Frankly, I don't really care about that. All that I really care about is this. The M50, it works. It just works, you guys. I bought this camera before I left for Asia in 2019. I just wanted a camera that was relatively compact, that could take good video, that would be good for vlogging, and also take some wonderful photos. And I have to tell you, this camera really fit the bill. I traveled with this camera for more than a year, tossing it inside of backpacks, outside of backpacks, throwing it onto buses and trains and boats. This thing is robust and it never missed a beat. The utility of the M50 actually goes far beyond just taking nice photos and being good for YouTube videos. I actually use this camera every single day for multiple hours per day because I can use it for Zoom calls. Canon has released a web utility driver that allows you to use your Canon camera as essentially a webcam for Zoom calls and other video conferencing platforms. And this has become invaluable to me because I'm in a software sales position where I'm talking to people over Zoom. I always have my camera on, rather than using the built-in MacBook Pro camera, which, let's be honest, it's not that great, particularly if the lighting is not good. Rather than using that, I use my M50, and what's great about that is that I give my viewers a more pleasant experience talking to me. Knowing people are on Zoom all day, every day, people are so burnt out. If I can put in a little bit of extra effort to provide a more visually appealing experience on Zoom and to just appear a bit more professional, I like to do that. I think it serves me well in my role. I do think that things like your video quality and your audio quality matter when you're having meetings over Zoom. So if you need another reason to buy the M50, use it for your work. Now the final thing that brings me a ton of value, a ton of joy in my life as a minimalist. You may not expect this one, you guys. It's this. It's a savings in Bitcoin. For those of you who are unfamiliar with Bitcoin, I'm not gonna tell you what it is. There are a million videos on YouTube about what Bitcoin is. So today, I'm just gonna tell you why it's valuable to me as a minimalist. So essentially in life, you're living within one of two frameworks. The first is a high time preference, and the second is a low time preference. People with a high time preference are people who love immediate gratification, right? They do not want to delay their satisfaction. They are the kids from that Stanford marshmallow experiment who eat that first marshmallow, right? They just can't wait for the second one. They just want the first one now. People with a low time preference are people who are a bit more patient. They're willing to make a sacrifice now. They're willing to delay gratification now, knowing that their future self will be rewarded at some later point. I would guess that if you're watching this, you probably have a low time preference. The reason being is you're most likely a minimalist. And if you are, that means you spend a lot of time thinking about what you own, what you don't own, what you buy, what you don't buy. And in that critical thought experiment, you're thinking about your future self, right? You're thinking, will this thing serve me in the future? So just by nature of you clicking this video, you probably have a low time preference. Building a savings in Bitcoin is the ultimate low time preference move. It's truly changed my life because Bitcoin is the first truly verifiably scarce liquid asset on the planet. And that level of scarcity, combined with a few other characteristics of what a good money is, it creates this amazing digital vehicle to preserve the fruits of your labor, to take the value that you create in work and put that into an asset that's gonna hold its value over time. Minimalism and a savings in Bitcoin create this amazing synergy between the two because both things, they force you into that low time preference. They get you thinking critically about what you want to buy and what you don't want to buy because as soon as you start saving in Bitcoin and you're patient and you see over the years the value continue to go up, that inspires you to not waste your dollars, right? I love Bitcoin. I think it adds a ton of value to my life, a ton of joy into my life. It makes me think more critically about the things that I do buy, and it inspires me to save for my future self, to be kind to my future self, rather than spending money on, meaningless things that I'm gonna put into my apartment. I like putting that money into a monetary network that's gonna preserve and grow my value. All right, guys, hope you enjoyed the video. Those were the top 5 things that, at least lately, have been the most meaningful to me. If you're not totally opposed, would you hit the subscribe button down below? I'm getting close to 1,000 subscribers. My goal is to get to 1,000 before the end of 2021, so that would mean a lot to me if you help me get there. Last thing, if there was anything in this video that you found particularly interesting and you would like me to expand on a bit, maybe it was the watches, maybe it was Bitcoin, maybe it was Merino Wool. Whatever it was, leave a comment down below. I read and respond to every comment that you guys leave, so leave me some feedback, let me know what you thought, and I'll catch you on the next one. Thanks, guys.